So back in 2014, I was in a rush to move to another apartment, and there weren't that many that were available for the time frame I wanted it for. At least not any good apartments, and definitely not in any good areas. I found a nice decent apartment with 3 rooms, and I moved in for the time being. At least I had a place to live in while looking for a better place. The suite was newly renovated, so I was supposed to get new appliances as well. There had been a mistake with the fridge, and the landlord told me that they would replace it as soon as possible, and I should expect it within the first 2 weeks of moving in. About a month later, I get a knock on the door. I went to look out the peephole and saw a man standing there with a piece of paper in his hand, and another man behind him. "Fridge," the man said behind the door. I opened the door and saw 2 men. The first man was a delivery guy. Behind him stood a man who didn't really care about his appearance, and honestly looked like he just crawled out of a dumpster. I thought he was just a helper. I let the man walk inside and place the fridge in the kitchen. The greasy man followed him inside and introduced himself to me. "I'm the new landlord," he said with a smile. "Really? Where did the other one go?" I was a bit startled, as he looked like a freaking homeless guy. Who the hell hired him to be the landlord? "Oh, she doesn't work here anymore." Well, no shit, I thought. The delivery guy then said goodbye and left, but the landlord didn't. "Where are your parents?" I told him that I lived alone. Big mistake. "No way. You look like you're a 15-year-old girl," he said with a smile. "Yeah, I get that a lot." "What do you need this big place for?" he asked. I just told him that I moved in there temporarily. He walked over to the kitchen and started opening and closing the fridge door. "Just checking if everything's good." I just nodded and leaned back against the wall and watched. He just stood there, looking at the fridge and then back at me. Why doesn't he just freaking leave? I thought to myself. Then he said, "You're really cute. Look at you standing over there. You are so cute." I let out a laugh and thanked him. No major red flags yet. He then said, "I live on the first floor if you ever want to visit. We can hang out." I didn't know how to answer him. So I said, yeah, I don't think..." Before I could say another word, he interrupted me. "I have no friends, and I don't talk to my family. I'm really lonely." Okay, red flags are going off now. I asked him why he didn't talk to his family, but he just brushed it off and changed the topic quickly. Then he started walking to the door and repeated himself once again. "Don't forget, first floor. Don't be a stranger." I followed him to the door and locked it when he left. I felt a bit uncomfortable, but soon forgot about it. About 3 days later, I get a phone call from the place I applied to. I had landed a part-time job at Best Buy. This was going to be my second job since I already had a job at an insurance company. I was excited to start at Best Buy, and I was hired in the tech department, and I absolutely love computers. Before I go on, I worked Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the insurance place, and then 3 days a week at Best Buy, mostly evenings, but it varied on weekends. So on the first day, I headed out of my apartment, took the elevator down, and was about to exit the front doors when I heard the familiar voice. Hey, it was the landlord. "Hey, what's up?" "Not much. Where are you going?" I ignored the question and told him I needed to go and walked out the door. I didn't need to drive to work because Best Buy was within walking distance. About 3 minutes into my walk, I noticed a gray car driving slowly beside me. I glanced over to see who it was, and it was the landlord. He rolled down his passenger side window. "Where are you going?" I told him that I was on my way to work and that I would be late if we continued chatting. I said bye, and I continued to walk a bit faster. "Wait, let me take you. Where do you work?" "No, it's alright. It's not far away. I work at Best Buy. I'll walk." Another dumb mistake. I shouldn't have told him where I worked. "Come on, let me take you. I'm headed to Tim Hortons anyway. I need to get some coffee." Well, it didn't hurt for him to drop me off, I thought. He's going in the same direction anyway. I hesitated a bit, but then accepted his offer. I got into his car. I know, dumb of me, and let him drive me to work. It was a very short ride, but he did not fail to make me feel uncomfortable. When I finally got to my work's parking lot, I thanked him and reached to open the door, but it didn't open. "Hey, your door's locked." "Yeah, I have the habit of locking doors. Before I let you go, can you give me your number?" I lied to him and told him that my phone wasn't working and that I was just using it as an iPad. My phone wasn't on vibrate, and I was hoping to God that I wouldn't get a text message or any notification. Okay, then let me give you my number. He grabbed a piece of paper and wrote his number down. Give me a call, okay? Sure, I said. When are you gonna call me? I don't know, I'll call you when I get a chance to. What time are you done? I'll pick you up. I don't know, it's my first day. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here for. I was hoping that he would just fall for my lie. He unlocked the doors and I stepped out of the car. I thanked him again and walked towards the store. Before leaving, he once again shouted, "Don't forget to call," and then drove off. Jesus, what a creepy guy this is. I threw the little paper with his number out and forgot about the whole situation. The next day I was scared to take the elevator since he always happened to be where I was going. So I decided to take the stairs. It led to the back door and I was sure I wouldn't see him. I did this for about 4 days and never saw him. Great, this works, I thought. On the 4th night, I was sitting in my living room watching YouTube videos on my laptop. It was around 10:30 p.m. and I was kind of dozing off when I heard a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Who could it be? I sat there quietly and didn't move, hoping that they would just go away. Another knock. I tiptoed to the door and looked out the peephole. It was the landlord again. Hey, are you there? Open up. Confused and tired, I opened the door. This is the conversation that followed. Hey, what's up? Where the hell have you been? What do you mean? I don't see you leave for work anymore. Did you quit or something? No, I still go to work. I just have a weird schedule. You never called me. I was waiting for your call, and you never called. You promised. Sorry, I never got a chance to. I work 2 jobs, so I'm pretty busy. I came to your work and asked for you. They told me that they have no one by your name there. Did you lie to me about your name? I was caught off guard. I didn't know what to tell him. I had indeed lied to him about my name, but that wasn't what freaked me out. Why the hell had he gone by my work? You went by my work? Why? I said a bit nervously. Because I didn't see you around. I wanted to know where you were. He said, kinda irritated. I didn't respond. He then was just staring at me for a moment, hoping that I'd invite him in. But there was no way in hell I was gonna invite this guy in. I'm really tired. I need to work tomorrow. I'll see you around. Look, I need to talk to you. Can we talk? Honestly, I'm really tired right now. Can this wait? Whatever. Fine. He said this while walking away, still muttering something under his breath. I shut the door and stayed up for a bit, afraid that he would return. Luckily he did not return, so I finally fell asleep. So the next day came. I got ready for work again and decided to take the elevator. The elevator door opened, and guess who was there? Yep, it was him. He asked me if I needed a ride to work, and I responded with a no. Are you sure? I told him once again that I didn't need a ride, and I got out of the elevator and went to work. This went on for months. By this time, I had already mentioned him to my manager and coworkers. They told me if I didn't show up one day, that they would call the police. Sometimes he would see me walk out the main door, and he would drop everything he was doing to come after me, asking me if I needed a ride. Other times he would ask me to hang out, and if he could take me on a date. Knocking on my door in the middle of the night was a pretty common thing. One time, he was in the middle of a conversation with another tenant. The tenant was complaining about something that had broken in his suite, and that he needed him to fix it. The landlord told the tenant that he should go to his apartment, and he would go grab his tools and follow quickly after. The tenant left, but he never went to go get his tools. Instead, he followed me outside and offered me a ride to work again. I told him no, and that he needed to do his job and to help the tenant. He said he didn't give a shit about the tenant, and all that he wanted to do was be around me. This creeped me out, of course. I would also see him at work sometimes. My manager had given me permission to go to the back room and just get out of sight whenever he would come in and look for me, which he had done several times while I was at work. I caught him walking around once, scanning the entire store to see if he could spot me, but he didn't, so he just left. He also mentioned to me once that sometimes he wanted to kidnap me, and he told me he just wanted to take me away and keep me to himself. I remember when he said it, he looked like he was hesitating, as if he was going to act on it right away. I found it a bit alarming, but I wasn't too scared. I don't know why. I guess I didn't realize how much danger I was in at the time, but I did play it cool, in case he was really going to try something. He would often say creepy things to me whenever he got a chance to talk to me. However, I don't remember all of it. It's a bit fuzzy to me. Now you might ask why I hadn't called the cops. Well, the police wouldn't have done anything since he had not caused me physical harm, so there was no point of calling them. Also, I had no proof that these things were happening, or of the things that he said to me, other than showing up to my work a few times. He would come to my work often to look for me if he didn't see me leave for work, or if he hadn't seen me in a few days. Or he would bang on my door in the middle of the night, asking me to open the door. I of course would ignore it. He had no way of reaching me anymore, and it was now clear to him that I was avoiding him. A couple weeks passed, and I was awoken by the sound of the fire alarm going off. Oh shit, that's right, there's supposed to be another fire drill today. It was my day off. I quickly went to see if I still had the note, to see when they were going to enter my apartment. Maybe I still had time to get ready and leave the apartment, since the landlord usually comes in with the person who checks the alarm. But I couldn't find the note. I got ready as fast as I could, and I was halfway done when there was a knock on my door. Crap, I thought. I opened the door, and there was the guy for the alarm and the landlord. They both walked in. The landlord didn't say a word to me. The guy checked the alarm and said it was good, and then they both left. I felt relieved. That went well, right? Wrong. Not even a minute passes, and I hear another knock on my door. Hey, it's me. Can you open for a second? I ignored it. Then the knocks got louder. Hey man, I know you're in there. Stop playing with me. I need to tell you something. Come on, open up. This continued for 2 minutes. When it was finally silent again, I had enough of this fucking guy. I had to do something about this. That night I was supposed to go to my friend's house to hang out with her, and also to return her laptop. She had given it to me to reinstall Windows. I got ready and left my apartment around 11 p.m. It was really nice out, and I wanted to walk to her house. It was a long walk, but I really loved walking. I took the elevator down, and when the doors opened, I saw him standing by the door. He hadn't seen me yet, so I had to act fast. Either get back in the elevator or sprint to the front door. It was a split decision. I went for the front doors, but sadly he noticed me, and I heard heavy footsteps running behind me. Before I go on with the story, I want to say that when you leave the front doors, you see a big parking lot. In order to leave the apartment complex, you need to walk around the building. So basically the front doors are pretty much the back of the building, and the back doors are the front. I know, it's weird. Anyhow, when I go outside, I ran halfway around the building and was looking behind me. There was no one there. I stopped running and started walking again, but something inside me told me to keep running. Little did I know, the reason why the footsteps had stopped behind me was because he had gone to the back doors to catch me there. When I got to the other side of the building, I saw that he had made it halfway around the back side of the building. I started running again and he started running after me. He was chasing me for about 2 blocks, while we both occasionally stopped to catch our breaths. I was close to the main road when I stopped running. My lungs were burning. I couldn't run anymore. Whatever happened next, I had to fight. He caught on. Out of breath, he said, "Stop, man. You're killing me. Stop doing this to me." I looked in shock, didn't say a word, still trying to catch my breath. "Why are you doing this to me, man?" he said, letting out a small cry. For the first time, I saw the look of sadness mixed with anger. "Stop following me," I yelled. "What do you want?" "Please don't go. Please come with me. Let's talk," he pleaded. "Talk about what?" He was still trying to catch his breath. I didn't care anymore. I was shaking, tired, and just wanted to see my friend. I didn't even make out what he said because of all the adrenaline. I started walking again. Turned around every 2 seconds to see if he was following me, but he wasn't. He just watched me walk away. And that's the last time I saw him. So creepy landlord, please, let's never ever meet again. A week or so after my 10th birthday, I walked to the corner store with a $5 bill and picked up a jar of ragu for my mom. On the way home, a man I'd never seen before fell in step with me and began talking. "Hi," he said cheerfully. "My name is Dr. Ramsey. I'm a pediatrician. Do you know what a pediatrician is?" I walked along silently, not replying, and hoping he would just take that as a sign that he should leave me alone. Subtitles were not his strong suit, though. He kept right on chattering. "Are your parents looking for a pediatrician for you?" Of course, you're almost a big girl now. You'll be needing another kind of doctor soon, won't you? That's okay though. They can still bring you into me until then. What's your name? You have beautiful hair. I was just on the way to get some suckers for the candy jar in my office. Do you like suckers? Thankfully, we were nearing my house, so I ran forward, up the back steps, and through to the kitchen door. I didn't know it then, but this was the beginning of a very long, very scary ordeal. It didn't take long after that for Dr. Ramsey to begin showing up. At first, it seemed benign enough, at least to a kid. He would drive by nearly every day, smiling and waving. I told my mom, who said maybe it was on his way home from work. But then, the phone calls began. My dad called me into the living room, sat me down. He asked about the day Dr. Ramsey followed me home, and if I talked to him. He said I wasn't in trouble, but I just needed to tell him the truth. I told him no, and he asked if I was sure, and if I could be forgetting something. I told him no again, and he frowned, and then asked, "Then does he know your name?" I told him I didn't know. It turns out that's not all he knew. He knew my sister's name as well. Pretty soon, neither my sister or I were allowed to answer the phone. He would call several times a day at first, neither of us knowing what he was saying. Then, one night, one of my brothers told us that he was telling my parents that he was going to hurt me, and later my sister. Things got complicated after that. My dad had called the police, but as this was before there were stalking laws, there was not a lot that they could do. They told my parents to call back if he ever tried anything. My dad then called his friend from back in the day, who happened to be a cop. For the next month, my dad's friend escorted me to and from school. Suddenly, life as I knew it came screeching to a halt. I couldn't walk to school alone. I couldn't play outside. I couldn't walk to the Super America convenience store as well. When access to me was completely denied, things escalated. It was around this time he began threatening my sister as well. Then one afternoon, my sister, two of my brothers, and my mom were in the kitchen. One of my brothers saw a glimpse of someone in the garage. They've seen Dr. Ramsey before as well. Dr. Ramsey came bolting out of the garage, my brothers chasing after him. They ran all the way to the Cherokee Park, where they lost him in the trees. My parents called the police again, but nothing came of it. The only information they had was a description, and a name that was most certainly fake. A couple weeks later, we woke to find one of our dogs hanging from the side porch. She was a gorgeous saddleback German Shepherd, born the same day I was. We were all devastated. The cops said there was no evidence it was him, and ruled it accidental, but none of us believed that. His phone calls became more informative in the meantime. He would talk about who was home and who wasn't. If my brother would say that my dad was home, Dr. Ramsey would tell him who was really in the house. He would also talk about the house itself, about the window in the kitchen that he could easily open with a knife from the outside when it was locked, about the French doors that connected the living room to the side porch, and how the lock could be finagled from the outside if he jiggled it just right. That night, my dad put in some carpenter nails at the bottom of the French doors until he could get a new lock ordered and installed. My parents had to go to a company event at my dad's work. My older brothers were at St. West roller skating rink. My sister was on the phone with her best friend, and my little brother had fallen asleep on the floor. I was watching Devo on the midnight special with Wolfman Jack. It was late. Suddenly, the top of the French door swung inward, and for a few milliseconds before the nails in the bottom caused them to snap back, I could see a silhouette. My sister whipped the phone at the television, and we ran upstairs. About halfway up, we realized our little brother was still asleep on the living room floor. As quietly as we could, we slipped back down the stairs to get him. We all went into our bedroom and didn't turn on the light. This way we could see outside. We watched out the window for a while, and we couldn't find him. We crept down the hall to my brother's room to look. We looked down and could see someone standing at the back door. He knocked loudly. "What do you want?" my sister asked out the window. He stepped back and said, "Is this the Mercy residence? I have a pizza for delivery. Can you come to the door?" She scoffed at him, declaring she was not stupid. She could see that he didn't have a pizza, and she was calling the cops. He then promptly left. A short while later, my brothers returned home. We told them what happened, and they walked around the yard, watching out for him. They came back in, and things settled down. By now, we pretty much gave up on calling the cops because it never helped us. So we just went back in, each of us, carrying a knife from the kitchen, just in case. Eventually, one of my brothers went into the kitchen to get a bowl of cereal as a snack. You know that sensation you get when you can just feel someone watching you? Yeah, he had that in spades. He kept looking around the kitchen, through the doorway, into the dining room, at the windows. He didn't see anything, but you could still feel the eyes on him. So he went closer to the door to try to get a better look. The kitchen lights were reflecting off the windows of the door, so he couldn't see. He stepped closer, then closer, until he was right up to the door. Then he cupped his hands on both sides of his face so he could see. There on the other side of the window pane was Dr. Ramsey, smiling back at him. He turned to yell for my oldest brother, and when he looked back again, he was gone. They went out there to look for him, but didn't see him. The next night, we were at the table playing Crazy Eights, and my brother was restless. My sister asked him what was wrong, and he said he always felt like any minute there'd be a boom 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 on our door or window. Almost immediately after he finished that sentence, on the window right behind him. In the chaos, the two eldest ran out, but he was already gone. A couple weeks later, I was at school, and we were outside on the playground during recess. I was swinging upside down when I saw that now familiar blue Ford Galaxy cruising by, moving slowly. There he was, smiling and waving. He called my name and I ran to the teacher and told her. By then, the school had already been told about him, so she took me inside right away and called my mom. That same day, my mom had gotten a call from the school asking her to verify that my dad was picking me up, as he called to say he was on his way, and she told him that my dad was not picking me up that day. Not long after that, I woke up one night thirsty. I went to the kitchen for a drink, and there, sitting alone in the dark, was my dad. On the table was a gun. He was tired of the police waiting until Dr. Ramsey tried something. He was tired of his children being terrorized. He was tired of being afraid every time he left for work that something was going to happen when he was gone. I sat with him for a time, watching, before he sent me back to bed. These events and many more took place over a period of 18 months. Then as suddenly as it began, it was over. He had vanished from our lives. The phone calls, the drive-bys with the creepy waves, everything. For a long time, during and after Dr. Ramsey's days, I would have this recurring nightmare in which I would wake up to find him standing over me as I slept. It took a long time before I felt like a kid again. I found out years later that when he was calling, Dr. Ramsey would tell my parents that he was going to rape and kill me, and later my sister, and there was nothing that they could do about it. I don't know what happened to him when he disappeared. I don't know if he got into a car wreck, locked in prison, in a coma, but sometimes I wonder if the wait ended for my dad when he was sitting in the darkened kitchen one night. I don't know. I'm not sure I want to. I'm a 20-year-old female and started working in a call center last year. It was a team of around 40 people, so we didn't exactly all know each other well. There was this one guy that was 35 years old. I'll call him Craig. I could always sense that he was watching me. He had perfect view of me at my desk from his, and his gaze would follow me whenever I walked anywhere. I never paid much attention to it because I didn't know him at all. One day I turned up to work and was called over by a couple of girls that I was friends with. I knew something was up because of the way that they were acting. They explained Craig messaged one of them asking for my number, saying how keen he was on me. I was immediately uncomfortable. There's quite an age gap between us, and he always gave me a weird vibe. I felt weird, but sort of brushed it off and laughed with my friends. I didn't let him get my number though. That day, we found out that Craig had lost his shit at the office after the rest of the staff had left the day before. He was abusing management and throwing things around the office. He ended up being fired and banned from the building. Later that night, I received a message request on Facebook. It was Craig. The message said how attractive he thought I was and that he could never stop staring at my ass, the fantasies he always had about me, etc. Basically just really disturbing stuff to hear from someone you've never even had a conversation with and was significantly older than you. So that's when it started. For the next 5 months I got a message every single day. Management and security at work were all informed of what was going on, as I had concerns that he would show up to the office to see me. I was constantly worrying that he would try to find me. I had thought of just blocking him, but my friends made the point that something like that could just aggravate him. I just put up with his messages and calls until one day it stopped, and I still don't know why. About 2 years ago, I worked at a movie store inside a mall. I've had tons of strange experiences with customers, but this one definitely tops them off. I was 20 at the time. This guy was over 6 feet, late 40s, very hefty, and always had this weird zombified expression on his face. He came in about once a week. One of my coworkers had even warned me about him, how he was a little off. But I still treated him with as much respect as I did with everyone else. One day he came in and talked for a bit, but it got a little awkward, and I kept trying to end the conversation and look busy by tagging items behind the counter. He stood there in silence, watching me for about 20 minutes, and then he finally left. A few days later, he came back in, and he walks up to me, holding a large container. He says, "I made 4 pounds of enchiladas at home today. Just for you. I remembered that you liked Mexican food." I don't remember telling him that I liked it, but I do know that I went to a Mexican restaurant across the way every lunch break. I politely accepted it and put it in the back office. I was convinced he used his jizz for it. A few days later, he came back in and had a drawing for me of a dragon. Now, I love dragons, but I never told him that. The drawing looked like it took hours to make, and at this point, I was a little freaked out. I had him leave it on the counter so I could just throw it away later. Later on, I was given about a week vacation. During this week, I had cut my hair about 12 inches. The day I came back in, I had a shift with my manager. I told her all about the guy, and immediately she was weirded out for me. A few minutes later, I see a dude walking around the mall. He was going towards the exit and didn't even notice me. My manager tells me to go in the back office. I go and wait there until she comes in to get me, and when she does, she tells me that I need to make a report to mall security immediately. Apparently when I ran back there, he turned around to come in and walked all throughout the store. When she asked him if he needed any help with something, he said, "I can't believe she cut her hair," and briskly walked out. I go to the mall security office to make a report, and we went through all these videos from the cameras of when this guy would come to visit me. But there was one video that really stood out. It sends chills throughout my body just thinking about it. The video shows him pull up into the parking lot of the mall, and about 3 minutes later I arrive. This was really early in the morning, and no customers were there yet, but there were cars in the lot. I didn't notice him at all. It shows me walking towards the entrance, and him following me. Right as I open the entrance door, the man starts sprinting towards me. I walked in just in time. It shows him stop and stand right in front of the door, watching me through the glass as I walk farther away. He begins to normally walk inside the mall. I never noticed him behind me. That's the part that really messed me up. It was like watching the last footage before a kidnapping or murder on Dateline or something. The video gave security every reason to ban him from the mall, and they did. They told me later when they did a background check, he had 4 counts of having child pornography and was on probation. Back in community college, I rode the bus to and from college. The bus stop was walking distance to my house, so it was a huge help for me. When I'm on the bus, I always listen to music and look outside. Never at my phone, and never at anyone else. Guess that's how I never noticed the man always looking at me. One day I went to go on my computer to send memes and chat with my boyfriend through Facebook. Dude sits down in the chair next to me, looking at my memes, and says hi. Dude startled me immediately. He was like, "Hey beautiful, thought I'd finally come by and say hi. I see you on this bus a lot, and thought you might want some company, you know?" Who are you? And I think you're pretty. I gotta go to class now. I leave, but not heading to class, just in case he follows me. He follows me a little bit, then turns around and leaves. After my class, dude shows up at my bus stop at the exact time my class ends and waits for me. Says the same stuff as last time. He repeats this for about a week until I finally tell the bus driver. The dude is following me and is creeping me out very much. The bus driver proceeds to close the door and drives off, leaving the creepy guy before he could get in. The creepy guy starts telling his classmates he's gonna get laid soon. The only reason I know is because one of his classmates is my best friend. I pointed out to him my creepy stalker, and my friend said he keeps talking and attempting to hook up with a chick, and that he said he might get laid soon. The next time I saw him outside of my class, I cussed him out. He proceeded to say, "Sorry baby, I won't do it again. I'm not your baby, and back off or I'm calling the police. I'm serious. I don't even know who the hell you are." After that, I never saw the guy again. This incident happened with me in my junior year of high school. My best friend had posted a story on his Instagram account, tagging me. A friend that he had from a previous school asked him about me because he found me interesting. My friend, not thinking too much of it, just linked my profile and he sent me a request. I accepted it and he slid into my DMs. I was a pretty naive 11th grader and he managed to get my phone number from me too. Turns out he was a desperate guy and somehow needed a girlfriend to show off in front of his friends. I know I shouldn't be mean, but this guy was 4 feet tall and ugly as fuck. The above mentioned discoveries were made much later. A few days later, he talked to me and I was flattered by his smooth talk. I didn't say yes, thankfully. A few days later, I came to know about this guy and immediately blocked him from everywhere: Instagram, Snapchat, and WhatsApp. The next day my phone was blown up with calls and messages from numerous fake IDs he had made just to contact me. I never replied and even asked my friend to tell him to stop contacting me. But that didn't stop him. He became my stalker, and things worsened when he started contacting my real friends and people from my previous school, somehow bringing me up in conversation and asking about me. A lot of people came up to me asking about him and telling me how stupid I was to talk to him. After much persuasion and his numerous female friends coming to me to unblock him, I did. He started telling me particular details of my life. It felt like he knew everything about me, things that only a few people knew about me. He also knew my address and started coming after school just to see me. By this time, he had befriended each and every one of my friends, and because he never physically stalked me, I couldn't do much about it. Thank God we weren't in the same school. My birthday is around the corner, so he made a fake account. It was my name followed by birthday, and he started posting my images, which he collected by stalking my friends and me. I got that ID removed by getting it reported by all my friends, and I blocked him once again. Thank God he lost my number when he reformatted his phone, and I wasn't stupid enough to give him my phone number again. I'm in my senior year now and realize how grave that issue was, and thankful that I had dealt with it somehow. I'm not dating any guy, and I hope nobody gets such a creepy stalker like I did. So, the teeny guy who wanted to date me so bad, let's not meet again. So this all started late in 2015, when I was still in high school. I was crossing the bridge to go to school, and this very friendly man stopped me and asked me if I could fill a survey out about budgeting. I said sure, and when I was done, he told me to fill out my contact details and gave me reasons like he was a social worker, etc. Dumb me, of course, gave him my contact number. I was so naive. But at the very least, I was smart enough to give him a fake name. In 2016, I started receiving random messages from this very same guy and was getting super creeped out by it. He knew which school I went to because when I met him I was wearing my uniform. And he started asking me personal questions. I tried to avoid all of them and generally didn't reply to him, but he kept texting me every day. And when he wished me happy Valentine's Day, I was like, nope. I blocked him because at that point I didn't feel safe at all. Later that year, we received a police notice calling for a witness because they arrested a few perverts in the area. In the notice they had several photos, and I saw the very same man that had approached me to fill out the survey. I was disgusted. Turns out that he would use those surveys as a tactic to approach female teenagers and take photos of them and harass them in text later. I was shocked as well. My school was in a nice neighborhood, and we all assumed there wouldn't be such creeps, but gosh, we were all wrong. I was glad he was caught by the police. To the photo-taking creep, let's not meet again. But I did. After he was arrested, I graduated and started schooling. It was an hours away drive from where I went to high school. I moved as well to the school dorm nearby. As I was walking home one day, I caught sight of him lurking at the bus stop nearby. I could never forget his face. He looked even more creepy, carrying a black bag, holding some papers that looked like the survey forms, while he was holding an old camera phone. I was super scared. How could he be here? Wasn't he arrested last year? Was he stalking me the whole time? I almost started crying and quickly called my friend and walked past him. Once he was out of sight, I ran home while on the phone. I was telling all my schoolmates to be careful, and soon enough the school was informed. The discipline master and a few PE teachers went to apprehend the stalker sometime later. They dragged him into the school's office and contacted the authorities. I was informed that he was released last year because of insufficient evidence. Apparently, the place where I live, taking photos of the girls in a not sexual nature is not a crime. They searched his flat, and there wasn't anything incriminating other than a creep ton of photos of female students. After this incident, he disappeared, only to be stalking other girls in other schools. How I wish we would never meet again. But I still see him roaming near my school and dorm every now and then, trying to be discreet with his little camera phone. I'm moving to a university soon, and it will be pretty far away from him. However, will I ever be free from the stalker again? I don't know, but let's not meet again. TV shows and movies usually depict abductors driving white vans or black vans. I didn't realize this until I decided to buy a white 1994 Dodge Ram cargo van to haul some of my gear I needed for work. Driving it, I've been pulled over by cops and searched 3 times for no reason, but that's another story. The point is, some people see vans as suspicious. One day while returning home, a woman pushing a stroller stared at me for a long time while I drove along my home street. We had speed bumps, and I had a lot of expensive, delicate gear in the van, so I was driving very slow. She stared at me, wide-eyed, the entire time. So I smiled at her, like a friendly neighbor does. She was staring so intently that she almost walked her stroller right off the edge of the curb. I thought it was funny, and I almost forgot about it. A week later, our HOA email thread heats up when a resident sends a notice that his wife and toddler were being stalked by a man in a white van. Fearing a pitchfork and torch mob mistaking me for a creeper, I replied to all, saying I lived in the neighborhood and I also drive a white van. I even provided my license plate number and home address. Big mistake. Jokingly, I added that I witnessed a suspicious person in the neighborhood as well. A woman with a stroller who was staring at me so long and hard, it made me uncomfortable. I provided the date and time of the incident to see if their alleged stalker was actually me. It was. Dude got triggered. He started sending me email after email, CCing everyone on the list, telling me he can read between the lines of what I was saying. His accusations became more and more ludicrous, and he started with personal attacks. Several neighbors on the email list replied saying that he was behaving badly. The emails eventually stopped, but things got even weirder. On several occasions while I walked my dog, a 10-ish-year-old girl would come out of her house, run over to me, and awkwardly chat me up about my dog, and gave me strangely intimate details of her life. I wondered why this child would talk to strangers, but thought maybe she just knew me from the neighborhood, so I politely played along. Then one day this girl shows up at my house. She said she was angry because her dad won't let her have a dog like mine. She said she wanted to visit for a while. I told her that I need to talk to her parents before I could let her visit my home like this. She said okay, and left, and I never saw her anymore. I have 2 daughters, and one of their friends told me the girl who was chatting me up was the daughter of the trigger dude from the HOA email list. He had been sending her out to talk to me and taking pictures. My daughter's friend was friends with this bait girl. Poor girl's dad was making his own daughter uncomfortable which is why she confided in her friend. The dad was sending his daughter out to chat with me so he could accuse me of I don't know what. One detail I forgot to mention, I have dash cams in all my vehicles and CCTV monitoring my front door, so the initial incident as well as the girl coming to my door were recorded. I emailed the triggered dude and kindly offered him copies of the videos of each incident. I also told him I was concerned that his daughter was behaving inappropriately towards strangers. Apparently this scuttled his plan, and I never heard from him again.